Brian Almon is at the Capitol today, and he joins us now. Brian, good to see you, sir. We'll have to suffer through the Capitol Wi-Fi. We'll see how it goes. But were you in the House at the moment that House Concurrent Resolution 2 went through? Was there anybody up in the gallery? How was the feeling in there?
There were people in the gallery. I wasn't there. I was down, finishing my lunch and working on articles in the cafeteria. But I was watching on the screen. I was actually surprised that nobody got up to debate it during the committee hearing. Both Representative Achilles and Representative Green made some noise against it and ended up voting against it. But I guess they just decided this is the hill they're going to die on this time.
Yeah, I was surprised too on both factions. I thought it was a good opportunity for some of the freshmen maybe to get up and get an easy layup and get their feet wet by speaking on the House floor and commending this. I thought it was a good opportunity too, but maybe perhaps folks said, you know what, let's just get it done. Let's get back to business. This was just a resolution. It was important, but at the same time, maybe we just move forward. And then, yeah, your point on the Democrats making a stink in committee was, well, it still has to go to the Senate, so I'm sure Senator Wintrow may have a few words. She always seems to. What is volleyball? Like, what is that? Really, what is volleyball?
What is a woman?
Yeah, what is a woman? Okay, Brian. Now, this morning you were in the. I think this was House State Affairs Committee where the Representative Ted Hill presented a bill that would stop foreign entities from buying property or owning property in the country. You kind of want to walk us through this bill a little bit, and then we have some clips of some questions that were raised. But tell us what you know here.
So I haven't seen the bill text yet, but from what Representative Hill's preaching, it sounds like this would actively disallow foreign nationals from countries that are designated as adversarial. And he pointed mainly to China and Russia, but there's others on that list. He pointed out that Syria was on the list and now maybe isn't, and who knows where they're going to be after that. So that was actually where some of the debate, because the bill would prevent them from owning land, and if any of them do own land, currently they'd have, I think, 180 days to sell it, or they would be foreclosed upon by the government. One of the issues that came up in the hearing was, what if other countries need to be added to this list, or countries that are on this list need to be taken off? And obviously the legislature for 3 months out of every year. So there was talk about maybe instead of listing the countries, they would point it to a federal list somewhere where the State Department makes some determination. That they haven't decided where, but we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, and that was an interesting line of questioning there, because there was a question of whether or not it should be foreign entities entirely or foreign adversaries. Representative Joe Alfieri from Coeur d'Alene District 4 kind of raised this point, which started a little bit of a domino effect. So let's watch a little bit of him.
You define foreign adversary, and that includes China, Russia, Islamic Republic of Iran, blah, blah, blah. My concern is that as the political landscape changes, we may not be able to keep up on this.
Yes.
How do we address that?
Mr. Chairman, that's a great point, and that is something I say the primary targets will be China and Russia, but that is a moving target, and that will have to require updates. But that is absolutely spot on, and that's something that was really Syria was in here before. Syria doesn't even have a government right now, so yeah, it completely changed. It could change next week. So I agree, sir, that that's just something that'll have to be updated. And if I'm still around, I'll make the updates. But I think we focus on those two primary adversaries. Syria, most likely, they'd be in here buying mines to destroy it. They're not going to be doing surveillance or so forth. But any of these guys could be a problem. ISIS is buying mines. I think that's a good idea. I would say we need to be able to track that. That's a really good point. And there's going to require some vigilance from the Attorney General and updating that. That's a challenge.
Yeah, it was a good question from Alfieri, and then it prompted Representative Clint Hostetler to dig further a little bit into some of the language here. So let's watch that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative. I had just one quick question, is trailing off of that last logic, is foreign entity versus foreign adversary in a time when we're actually battling against our own federal overreach here. Is there a reason why we wouldn't exclude foreign entities in general at this time for buying up our land or mines or things that we could utilize here for our own benefit in Idaho?
Representative Hill. Sure. Judy Boyle's bill here 2 years ago addressed this initially, and I was with Judy. That came after just the agricultural mines and infrastructure like dams. And then we last year shipdated it with forest land. So nobody can buy any of these as of now. Nobody, no foreigners can buy anything. But if they own it right now, we said we're not going to take it away from them. But these people that do own it, and like these foreign adversaries, we're going to take it from them. I think the incentive, if you're a foreign adversary, I'm not going to buy anything in Idaho. So we got the incentive right now to stay away. And foreigners, we have 1% of the land is owned by foreigners in Idaho. It's not a huge amount, but it can be, really critical at critical places. And it's increased from 36 million acres to like 43 million acres in the last 4 years that foreigners own. So we're not stopping it. We're not being smarter. We're getting stupider every day, and it's, I had someone challenge me on the radio. I should be able to sell to whoever I want. Yeah, you can, but if you're a patriot, you would not. And I wanted to say something a little bit more than that, but I was on the radio. But it's just real simple. I think the disincentive for foreigners to buy land here is pretty strong. If I would be hesitant to buy any land in these cases because you don't know what's coming next. Are we going to go foreclose on Canada? Actually, the biggest landowners are Germany, Canada, and the Netherlands in this country now.
Yeah, some interesting facts there, Brian. But what do you make of his notion that says, like, if you're a patriot, you wouldn't sell your land to a foreign entity?
Well, Representative Hill, he's my representative in District 14, so I've gotten to know him over the last 40 years in the Navy as a naval aviator. So he has a very strong view of patriotism and putting country first, and that's probably where he's coming from. That why would you sell out your country to some Chinese company that's just going to use it against us? And for other countries, I don't know. The whole foreign ownership of land in America, it's a very strange issue. A lot of countries don't allow that. I don't think I can go to China and buy land, but we have a much more open view of it, and maybe it's to our detriment. I don't know. This will present some interesting debate once it hits the committee and the floor.
Yeah, it will. I think so. And Vito, in fact, Vito Barbieri, representative from District 3. And if we're name dropping who our representatives are, he's my representative. He suggested that maybe this bill should come back after they take a look at some of these issues. So let's watch this clip real quick.
I'm feeling the same way Representative Holtzclaw is about this in terms of the definition of foreign adversary, whether or not the federal government has that definition and is using that. I think it would behoove the committee to return this to the sponsor, make sure we get that cleared up as to whether or not the federal government does have a definition for that and is delineating what a foreign adversary is, and then addressing that within this context, because it certainly would be appropriate to give the flexibility of application and enforcement of this bill, or this actually would be a law, but it would behoove us to make sure that the flexibility is built in and we're comporting with that, which is the federal government. So I would support a motion to send it back to the sponsor to have that fixed if that motion's made.
Yeah. So what became of that bill by the end of the committee there, Brian?
So the committee did print the bill to introduce the bill. However, from what the conversations I was hearing in the room, it sounds like Representative Hill will likely come back with a new RS that changes the definition of these adversarial nations and just allows someone else, whether it's our governor or whether it's someone in the federal government, to determine which nations those are. And the process for that is something that happened a lot last year, where someone will introduce an RS, it gets passed, but then they want to change something. So instead of going through the whole process, they'll just bring the new RS on the same day they're supposed to have the bill heard in the committee, and they'll essentially swap them. The committee will vote to print and introduce and hear the new one right away and hold the previous one. So I would expect that.
Yeah, very good. We expect that to happen as well. So good. That being said, there, when it comes to this whole issue, I mean, I understand the idea of you should be able to sell your land to whoever you want, but adversaries, China could be our enemy today, could be our best friend, 10 years from now. I mean, updating this list and taking and giving away land seems so bizarre, and I wish we did just have it set down that maybe we should just not sell to? I mean, are they talking about private parties? Are they talking about governments? I mean, do we know any of that yet? I mean, what if it's just
I haven't seen the actual text, but I think this one is actually private parties who are citizens of these adversarial nations.
Right.
As you know, ownership is such a weird thing. If I'm an adversarial country or a foreign country and there's laws against me buying something here, just find some American partner, set up a LLC, and then buy it in that name. And maybe they'll eventually track that down, but it adds more layers to actually trying to figure out who owns what.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of like auto manufacturers, I mean, Toyota is owned by the Japanese ultimately, but they have buildings and plants and stuff all over the country. I imagine they own land or something, or maybe they're just leasing it. I don't know. But I mean, I imagine that that's the case. And luckily Japan's a friend, but who knows what happens 10 years from now, right?
Yeah, it's like, speaking of Japanese companies, you have Nintendo of America, headquartered up in Washington State where I used to live. It's an American company, but it's essentially a subsidiary of a Japanese parent company. Right.
And so they wouldn't be considered an adversarial company or from a foreign adversary.
Yeah, thankfully, not a foreign adversary at this time.
Yeah.
Like you said, who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully not. We like the Japanese now. We like the Japanese. Yeah. Anyway. Well, and then there's also is this a slippery slope then to say like, I mean, speaking of the Japanese, we put them into internment camps. We had an internment camp here in Idaho where Japanese Americans had to go during World War II. So this feels like the same road, right? Like if you're worried about Chinese companies owning or Chinese nationals owning property and setting up surveillance states again and some sort of spying operation within our state. This feels like, well, if things really get hot, are you going to be putting Chinese people in internment camps? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess that I feel like that's the next logical step here if we continue down this road. It's one to think about, I guess.
That's a good question. Hopefully somebody will bring it up during the debate and we'll at least have an idea of where this is going.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Well, what else is on your list for today? What else are you looking at? What else are you hearing in the halls?
Well, in House State Affairs this morning, Representative Jaron Crane brought his illegal immigration bill back. It's he introduced it late last year. It actually passed the House, but the Senate just didn't have time to take it up, and they weren't willing to rush it. It essentially just gives law enforcement the ability to document undocumented people, aliens who are into the criminal justice system because they rear-ended someone or because they committed a burglary or whatever. Law enforcement will document them, and then if they have a second time having then been documented, they will then be deported. And obviously, we're going to see a lot of debate on this. I'll write about this later at Gem State Chronicle. This is one of those things that people say that it violates the supremacy clause, that only the federal government can enforce immigration law. But if they're not doing it properly, then what can we as states do? There's Texas law that is being litigated in the Supreme Court, and we should hear a decision from that sometime in the next few weeks or months that will pretty well determine if this bill will pass constitutional muster.
Yeah, that's going to be a big question. If I mean, we can pass this bill, but whether it's upheld is another story. And I mean, look, the states are trying to, particularly Idaho, we're trying to figure out how we can protect our borders, protect our people from massive illegal immigration. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem. And the federal government, at least the last 4 years, has been derelict in their duty. And hopefully we'll get a lot of help from the new administration as it comes in. We're less than a week away. Can you believe it? It's going to be the best. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I applaud, Representative Crane for bringing that forward. And we need to continue to have this debate. So very good.
I did speak to Representative Crane after the hearing, and
yes,
he said he's been speaking to a lot of law enforcement personnel throughout the state. He is hoping to have Sheriff Norris from Kootenai County. He was on. He testified for this bill last year. He's hoping to have him come down and testify again. So it's another tool for law enforcement, and I think the law enforcement in Idaho is going to get behind that, which means I think most Republicans will be able to support it as well.
Oh, great. Well, I'm up in Kootenai County, so I got to call up old Sheriff Norris. Maybe we'll have him on and get his perspective here for the audience too. So very good. We got a comment down here. I think American land should only belong to American citizens. Otherwise, foreign nationals could theoretically buy the country out from under us. Those are our good friends in the Know Idaho over there with that good comment. Very good. Excellent. All right, Brian. Well, where can people follow you and keep tabs and other outside of Idaho Signal?
Well, head over to gemstatechronicle.com. Yesterday I had just a philosophical musing about the nature of taxation and government power. Today I'm just going to do a more straightforward piece on Representative Crane's bill and illegal immigration and all the people who are lining up against it. Follow me at GemState Twitter, where I will continue live tweeting events right here from the Capitol.
Fantastic. All right, Brian. Well, thank you for joining us. Good luck out there. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Matt.